getting to the Wizards, what do you make of some of these slow starts for this team? We had Coach Brooks on, and just like that Golden State game, I was looking at the schedule. I was like, you know what? The Wizards might actually get in a little run and find themselves back in the playoff picture. And then they lose to Golden State, and we're just this low energy at the beginning of the game.
Well, I think what's happened with them sometimes is when, like, the other team's best player is not playing, I think they just play down to the level. You know, D'Angelo Russell didn't play in that game, and I just didn't like their disposition from the start. Defensively, they weren't locked in. Offensively, it was just a lot of, as soon as you come down, jack a shot, miss, and then not getting back on defense. But, they haven't had a lot of those this year, but they've had a few of them where you're like, they just didn't come and compete at the level in which, even this is a team that's developing, they're trying to get their young players better. But there have been a couple of those games this year where they just didn't post up.
Joined by Chris Miller, Washington Wizards reporter. All right, so let's get into these deals. IT's moved. He contributed for the team, but he really didn't look like the IT from a couple years ago, not even close, particularly the way he moved. He could still knock down shots.
I feel for him because yesterday he was in the league and today he's not.
It was really tough. Yesterday we did an NBA stream on our My Team's app, shameless plug, and we broke the deal down. And then literally moments after we talked about him getting traded to the Clippers, it was announced that they immediately were going to waive him. And, Tom Havastro and Jared Jeffries and I were just talking about it. It's just like, man, in 2017, this guy was a Wizards killer. And, now look at him because of the hip. And, but he was really thankful to the Wizards organization for giving him an opportunity to prove that he could still play in this league. But, I don't know if he's going to get picked up by another team, this year and moving forward. It's just really tough. And you think about all the money that he could have made if it wasn't for that hip injury. You just feel for the guy. Guy's gone through a lot, obviously, with his sister passing. Nipsey Hussle, one of his close friends, passed away, dealing with his injury. It just seems like it was one thing after another. But good dude, though, man. Was very accommodating with his time while he was here. But
do you think,
obviously the Wizards had to move on.
Do you think he understands how tenuous his position in the league at this point is right now?
I do, because I think that's why he was so appreciative of Tommy Shepard and the Wizards giving him an opportunity to prove that he could still play.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think I think he knows that, the league is kind of telling him right now there might not be any more opportunities at the NBA level.
Man, that's just brutal. It probably cost him $100 million. I'd say no that
question.
Injury.
Yeah. I was saying 90 yesterday, but yeah, it could totally have been 100 million.
What's the Wizards situation going into the offseason in terms of their cap and the payroll? I mean, obviously John's making a ton of money. Bradley's making a ton of money. Who knows if they keep Bertans? Are they in a position where they can target one or two bigger name guys and pay them, or are they still strapped?
Well, listen, John's going to make, I think, 41 next year. Brad's making 28.7.
Right.
Mahinmi's money comes off the books, but if they want to keep Bertans, I think that money's just going to slide right over to him. I don't think that they're going to be in the market for getting big-name free agents. And there's not really a lot of big-name free agents in this market. I would say 2021, if you're trying to target that would be LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi, Paul George, Anthony Davis. That's the summer of free agency, like it was a couple of years ago when KD and LeBron were free agents. But I don't think that they're going to be in the hunt for big-name guys. I think when you are financially committed to John and Brad the way that they are, kind of like yesterday's trade deadline, you've got to kind of get moves around the edges. And that's the reason why I think guys like Hachimura, Thomas Bryant, Mo Wagner need to develop fast. So next year when John does come back, this team can still vie for a playoff spot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just we've been talking about it for the last few weeks. It's frustrating watching them beat really good teams, and it's the product of the NBA. I get it. Some teams just don't want to play on certain nights, but when the Wizards give up $150 to the Hawks, or they lose to the Warriors got beat by 40 the next game after they beat the Wizards.
Right. Giving up the 150 thing is just disturbing. The 140s and stuff like that. You're just not locked in. I mean, it's not like they're not working on defense. I see it every day. It's an effort that's being put out there by the coaching staff. But you just can't give up numbers like that. I mean, that clearly just says that you're just not wanting to lock in defensively. And we knew this all year long, that the struggles would be on the defensive end, but the fact that they can score so much, I think, is what's been so intriguing about this team. Yes, especially with the fans that I talk to, they're really excited about their ability to score, but you got to defend at some point.
So is the idea that they want to bring back Bertans, obviously, they try to get that to work, and then that's their new big three?
Yeah, I think so, because, I mean, John really hasn't had a guy like Bertans in his 9 years here, where you literally have a stretch four that can shoot as soon as he crosses half court. And the ability of having Bertans on one corner, Brad on the other, and John just, driving downhill, that's going to be very difficult for teams in the league to try to figure out how do you guard that. Because Brad is not just a shooter anymore. I think you guys can see that he's much more than that. So now you've got two guys that can facilitate your offense, and you've got this guy that can just, wreak havoc on your defense shooting from 30, 40 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been, I know everyone is sort of like over-the-top enthused with what they've seen with John so far, and I have to agree with that. But I'm still questioning whether or not he's going to have that elite quickness.
Listen, man, an Achilles injury, I think, is the most devastating injury you can have.
Agreed.
It used to be like ACLs. It used to be like back and all that. But when you tear your Achilles, man, especially when you have the type of speed, world-class speed I think John had with the basketball, I can understand why people are like, wait and see, right?
Yeah.
I'm at a wait-and-see mode too, but I also know the guy, and I know that he's motivated by the least little thing. And the fact that the narrative out here now is who's ever come back from an Achilles is motivation. He's got the worst contract in NBA history is the motivation. Mm-hmm. And then there's more personal motivation, obviously, with the passing of his mom, the birth of his son. There's just a lot of motivation for him. And if he can find the positives in all this and come back, it'd be a great story, right? But I can totally understand people being like, torn Achilles, can this guy even be 80% of what he was before? But knowing the man and knowing his desire to be great, I wouldn't bet against him.